This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society of BC, brought to you by Sitka Gear. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Precision Optics. Thank you Sitka Gear and Precision Optics for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back at it. Talk is Sheep, episode number 7,426. Okay, that might be an exaggeration, but what is not an exaggeration is we actually have a true freaking legend on the podcast today, and close friend, respected conservationist, a bit of a sheep hunter, could get some gear shit from him. Omer, welcome to the podcast. Great to see you.
Kyle and Greg, nice to see you guys. Been a little while.
It has been, but you've done the circuit, man. You've been on Spike Camp. You've been on Come Out Heavy. Is there anything you were on Rogan last week, weren't you?
Yeah, I was talking politics and bears named Tex. Yeah. Too soon? Oh no. Let's talk about rain in Texas. Okay, how about that?
All expected.
Awesome. So, we've been, we love having you on, Omer, and there's so many things we could talk about. And obviously you're the go-to guy for gear and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure we'll get there tonight. But tonight we're hoping to do something a little bit different, talk about maybe what you got planned for this fall. I always love to hear your perspective on gearing up and getting ready to go and sort of the mental game. And I always love to figure out who the hell you're going hunting with, because you always are dragging somebody different along each year, and that's always and they always end up with sheep too, just saying. So
yeah, I'm kind of like the Dexter of the hunting community. You only kind of go once with me, and if I can't get a sheep, then I'm going to get a sheep hunter and kind of make the odds better for everyone else. No, I actually have pretty dedicated 3 separate kind of groups that I hunt with, and this year I'm really excited because my son Jack's coming on his first true sheep hunt, and my good friend Ben is coming, and all 3 of us, like, man, we need it. Like, a rock star who's been in rehab for like 280 days needs to go on a bender in Tijuana. Like, I've last year I haven't gone since 2022. And, that's just kind of, I feel like such a fraud when I talk to my customers and the people that call and like, oh, you going sheep hunting? I'm just like, last couple of years, like, no, like 2023 had a bona fide excuse, and 2024 was just like quite busy. But this year, like, we're just going to blow the doors off. And then my friend Ben, he has been overworked dramatically. Poor guy he's basically on call pretty much every day except for 2 days out of a month. And he has an incredibly demanding job. So, his exact words, like, we work out at least twice a day in the gym, and we were bantering back and forth this morning, and, we're going to, not to jump right into some of this, but we're going to, we had to change our plans. We were going to fly into a certain very secret lake. And then I found out from a guy who I thought was sort of a friend that he told some other person about this very same lake. And I was like, man, if like our group and this guy's group end up in the same area, nobody's going to do any hunting. Okay. It's just going to be, we're going to be calling the pilot for, more drinks. So we sort of shifted gears, and we're going to an area that's just like, we have no real idea. A guy that I really trust, he kind of back rubbed me into it. He's like, wants me to try it out because he feels it's favorable. But I was telling Ben, I'm like, man, I have no idea. We might just be looking at like stones, like rocks. And he's like, you know what, man, if we're just by the fucking lake for the whole time, I'm okay with that. I'm like, well, then we're going to have a good armed hiking and camping trip. Like my friend Andy calls it. He's like, well, nothing beats a good armed hiking camping trip, right? If you're hunting for sheep, I mean, the odds are not in your favor, but if you're out there for a good hike, you'll find what you're looking for.
Awesome. Okay, so that really teed things up for us. And I guess for me is like when you tell me that, it's like you're a workaholic, and that's why freaking Precision Optics is amazing. And I know Benno is too, and you guys work your tails off. So talk a little bit about going from dedicated, like nose down, 365 days a year, not able to take off a day in the last 2 or 3 years, and now you're going out and you're going to shut it down for 2 weeks. What's that like? Because that's like going from like that's cold turkey for an alcoholic that's drank like 17 cases a day for years on end and then stops drinking.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's stressful. It's mostly honestly like, so, there's a translation, the website does like a lot of conversion. So it'll take orders, but there's emails and tons of calls, and, so there's the concern about lost sales, because a lot of our customers want contact and chat. And, just even one day can mean a lot of money. On Tuesday of this week, we were fortunate to have some amazing visitors come all the way from Orofino, from Night Force. They sent 2 instructors up, Tyler and AJ. And then our friend Felix at Gravel came all the way to Little Quesnel just to spend the day going through every single thing I could and Jackson could plumb out of their brains about their optics. And then we shot like hundreds of rounds all day. And our general manager, Michelle, who, looks after all 3 Gs of our company, she's actually in Haida Gwaii right now. She's been training for months for a Boston qualifier. She's a marathon runner. And so that Tuesday, I show up and the store's on fire. There's like, it's an order day, and it's really busy with, we have a town festival. So they're doing a lot of stuff for that. And I go in the back and I'm putting things together, and, she's got a bunch of people like our staff that she's directing doing this and that in the grocery store. And then, so I greet, Tyler and AJ and Felix, and we're sitting back and bullshitting and like everyone's zinging around. Right. And then I just kind of casually walk up to Michelle and I'm like, hey, do you mind keeping a phone on you? And she just gives me that look. That was just like, you're going to be stupid right now. Like you're going to be dumb right like today, right now. Cause she was leaving the next day. So she had 1,000,001 things to do. But anyway, so our system, keeps a log of how many calls. And so Jack and I ended up getting back at the store after the day with them at about 6:30 a.m. Fuck, we missed it was over 60 phone calls. And there was a pile of emails. And honestly, using a mining analogy, that's the concentrate, that's the pay dirt for us. So yeah, going into being gone for about 2 weeks is pretty stressful. We're going to have, one of my staff's going to be answering the phone as best she can and just kind of helping people. And but I'm always concerned, stressed out for customers that need help. We sell some complicated shit sometimes, when you get into some of the guns that we sell in the scopes and the optics and the rangefinders and all that, and people need assistance, and we like to be there for that. But at the same time, I have a good friend who, he constantly grabs me, spiritually by the scruff of the neck, and he just puts me straight. And he's just like, if money's worth more to you than spending time out in the field and sheep hunting, then you're not the person that I knew. So, that resonates with me. And him and his hunting partners, I respect them more than anyone that does what we do. So, when Jackson kind of gets a little worked up about it, I'm just like, nothing means more to me. And I'm hard on him, and I'm hard to work with. I mean, he'll attest to that. Cause I'm just like, some days I'm just like gas on fire. Right. But I'm just like, there's nothing more important than like the 3 of us just hanging out and, crawling around and seeing if we can spy a special ram for Ben. And then just, the ups and downs and, all the things that are sheep hunting. That means more to me than money, for sure.
So what is it like? I think back to, those early days, and like you and I have had some pretty candid and heart-to-heart talks, and about like there's the business thing, right? And like you're running a business, and of course you got to look after that. But like one thing when we sit down and talk, feel like this isn't business for you. This is like who you are. This is your essence. This is your being. It's not really about, like, of course, yeah, you're running a business, so you have to be profitable and all that sort of stuff too. But like, I feel like for you, this is way bigger. And like, lots of times I reflect about conversations that we have about different people in our space, that they're like, hey, these guys need a little bit of love right now. They're struggling a bit, but they're important to the community. Like, this is really, really critical. And like a lot of businesses, like, I don't think maybe have that mentality, that they're worried about, like, not even parts of the business. They're just people in our space. And I feel like that's something that, like, when I talk to you, it's never like I just had a quick 2-minute chat about Omer because we need to sort something out. It's like, it's always like, no, like when the phone rings, I put my shit down and I clear 45 minutes of my calendar, because I know we're going to, and I know it's going to be freaking deep. It's not going to be just a conversation about like fluff. So like, obviously this is way bigger for you than just a business, or just, and it's not just sheep hunting. Like, this is truly a community. It's a way of life. And you talked about, I don't know if we talked about it earlier, but spirituality too, right? Like, it's big.
Yeah. Yeah. There's many elements to it. And I mean, this chat's going to go the way it's going to go, right? Like, we can just kind of flow with it. But, I mean, people get many different things out of, alpine hunting, not just sheep hunting. I would put goats and that and alpine muley, because it's challenging. We don't belong there. Okay. And there's a hardship there. And in order to succeed at it, you have to bring many things together. You have to like develop a locus. And in order to have stability, you have to conquer things. There's like a physical element. You have to achieve a certain degree of physical fitness. But the physical fitness is actually, quite honestly, one of the minor parts. You have to develop, tradecraft. You have to know what to do in certain situations. You have to develop, mental toughness, and you have to develop smarts, and you have to, develop, contingencies. Like, what if this happens? What if that happens? You have to be prepared. You have to go through your gear. I don't care if you're like kitted out with the most expensive, greatest stuff. You don't have to do that. One of the greatest hunters that I know, Jeff King, who all of my greatest achievements were with him, honestly, barring a few. I mean, he always did it on a tight budget, and his stuff was always dialed in and sufficient. And, so there's that. But then the bigger part of it is like the reward. Like, what is it? Like, do you want like an endless array of stone sheep? Like, when I got into goat hunting, I told myself, I want a dead goat every year. I want a goat every year. Right. And then that kind of tapered off for me. And, I've said this, the last goat that, and he's a nice goat, that I had, I climbed up, I got, spent quite a while getting to him, got to within 400 and change, and I dry fired on him twice and left him be and hiked off the mountain. I was just as happy as if, he was like part of my collection now. So why is that? Well, there's a spiritual nourishment from it. And, and what is that? Well, it's many things. There's the camaraderie, right? Like, you develop these relationships with people that are special relationships. Like, Jeff and I don't talk every day, and he's got a very busy life, young family. He's got a farm, busy career. His wife's a principal. They're very, very busy. But if I called him right now, I'd be like, let's go sheep hunting. Like, fuck, they would, like, okay, let's make it happen. Tragedies happen, and, and then you see what people are made of, and people know that you kind of know where you stand with people. I mean, we've lost people out there. And I remember when we lost a very, very special person, my phone started ringing at like, I think it was like 5:30, and it was Waylon. And he told me that, he heard someone had passed away, and like within like an hour, and this is going back quite a few years, when David passed away, and we were just doing everything we could, like me and Waylon and Tyler Earl, Jason's brother, and all these guys, just like, how the hell, what are we going to do? And we just dropped everything. And next thing you know, we're bombing up to Dee's Lake to go and help them. And, you never forget that. And like, you never forget that amongst each other either. I've been in some pretty dicey scenarios and needed help. And, these people just kind of step up, and then vice versa. I've dropped everything and just grabbed a system off the rack and bombed up to the middle of fucking nowhere, and met, someone at a gas station, like, 7-8 hours away, like, no bullshit, because they lost their system out there, or the outfitter's client lost their system and they needed so, that's a transactional thing, but like, it's important, like, and like I said, there's this like a brotherhood, right? So the way I kind of explain it to people that get it, I'm like, you feel things for your family, say, like love and kinship and respect and memories and stuff. And, you can try to quantify it. You can try to define it. You can try to write it down. But you feel it. It's just kind of there. It's a thing, right? It's a spiritual, mental, cognitive, emotional thing that develops over time. And that very much exists in the wild sheep community, like as a large, at WSF, the Wild Sheep Federation. But it, as you get closer, like within our circle in BC, like it's really, really there. Like it really exists. And it's got, different players, and people have, their depth sounder goes to different levels. But it's absolutely there. And, I mean, I got being in the middle sometimes, like I try to be, neutral. I try to be Monaco or Sweden or Switzerland. And I know, these guys, and I know those guys, or this guy and that guy. And like, sometimes people don't get along, but even when they don't really, really get along, I know that any one of those people would like literally do anything to help the other person, even if they've got these bantery, chippy, chirpy kind of, Instagram, online, social media relationships. That's all.
Who would
dressing.
you be referring to there,
Omer? I don't know. No idea. But you know what I mean, right? Like it's true. Like, and when you see very special things happen, like they really, they leave a deep, deep mark, I don't want to get too sappy, but when you see something that's very tragic turn into something that's pretty beautiful and like a legacy, and you see like it help a family heal, and it's all because of our community. Like, that's not just a group of people getting together, having a drink, telling lies, and spending money on raffles. Okay. I know I'm going long here, but like talking personally, like alpine hunting for me, I just discovered different facets of myself. I did so much solo goat hunting. Most of it was solo. I have not done any successful solo sheep hunting. But I killed a fair number of goats solo in a very, very challenging area. And then you'd have these, so many situations where you're like, I just want out of here. I want off the ride, mommy. Like, I don't like being on the zipper. I'm going to throw up, please. And then you get out of it and you're like, you kind of have a different perspective of yourself. Right? So it makes you like a better, hunter for sure, but sometimes a better person. And you got to rise to the challenge. And there's not many things that do that. And so, when I say that the goal is to just go out there and have a good old time, that means different things to different people. But if you go out there and you learn more about yourself, or it drives you to be a better person, right, and improve yourself, then, that's a pretty special thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked, there's that personal challenge in the alpine experience, which we touched on, and then there's the community that we talked about, our conservation community. And you talked specifically about the things that touched you personally, like the experience with David, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one event, and it's a pivotal event. It's important to our community, and it affected our community deeply. But like this, there is this huge community, and I think too, the one thing I think a lot about is that I think people show up and they think like this sort of community that we have, and I'm not talking wild sheep. I'm just talking about the community that we have, like conservation and wild sheep and goats, and like we're talking about precision optics and just so many different, like all these different things. And I think what we have in our community here, certainly in British Columbia, but beyond too, like you can't take it for granted. That stuff just doesn't, like, it's not there by, like, it just wasn't a fluke. Like there were some people that were very diligent, very intentional about what they did to bring this all together. And I think that, like, maybe if you show up at an event, like whatever the case may be, I think at our Sleuth Conservation Mountain Hunting Expo, for example, but there could be other things too, but that comes to mind, is like, oh, it's a show, and it's just, but that show was built like through like very intentional people coming together, and it's not like one single, like, just like the society just didn't throw a show and then all of a sudden it was just like this magical community created. It's so much bigger than that, and it's intentional, and it's created by pillars within that community. And it's not, and I'm not talking about the society, I'm talking it's bigger than this, way bigger than the society. Think about that.
Ultimately, yeah, I mean, so again, it's that feeling that people get when they go to the, like, why do you go to the sheep show? Like, why did anyone come to the sheep show when it was like, I don't know, you get like in the dozens, in like the bowels of a hotel that kind of didn't want you there. And there was only a couple vendors. And really, it just boiled down to like some cool events and raffles and stuff like that, and people trying to get a deal. But it was a camaraderie, like people sitting around on beer coolers, getting in shit from security from the hotel because like we're, drinking booze and telling lies, and then just basically having a bit of a good old boy piss up, right? Like that created, like, I would say, like the backbone, right, for kind of where things are, now, right? Like if you think about where it was pre-COVID and then what happened during COVID, but really how like the community rallied when, it canceled the show, and then next year figure out like do the virtual show, and really like it resonated really well. And, then we were back in Kamloops and it was strong. And then, and then you spearheaded the Mountain Hunting Expo, and it just blew the doors off. Like people were like, F yeah, like this is awesome. Like this, they were proud. Like people were proud to be there. It's kind of like, like for some people there was a little bit of a dimming of the nostalgia when it was like smaller, when you knew everybody, but at the same time, like they're just like when they're sitting in the banquet and they're like, holy smokes, there's a lot of people here, or they're like, they used to be like 5 or 6 vendors, in the hallway by the bathroom, and like the reps would stand there and there'd be like 1-2 people every 10 minutes, and like, I'll never forget, I asked John and Rob to come, and, and John he's just an amazing dude. So he shows up, and after the first day, he's like, buddy, like, wow. Like every one of those guys is like a customer, right? Which, for him is like, that is concentrated, John Mogul juice right there. Like, I mean, if someone is engaged in the product, and that was the same with like Ray Harms from Zeiss. He was just like, holy smokes, like the engagement. Same with the Leica guys. I remember when Chris came up from Gunworks, looks around us in Kamloops, and he's just like, so this is it, huh? And he had just come from Iwa, which is like I don't know how many tens of thousands of people go through that. But then after a few hours, he's like, fuck, buddy, I get it. Like, these guys are the real deal. Like, it completely changed his perspective on it. Like, it dawned on him that, like, this is ground zero. These are real sheep hunters. The guys that he's selling the $15,000 rifle to, going on a $100,000 stone sheep hunt, they're the they're the emulator. Okay, we're the ones that are actually, living the dream and doing it. And so, there is a huge amount of pride that I see in the people that are part of the community and partake in it and spend their hard-earned money and show up and support the raffles, which ultimately supports everything. So they built it. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a great event, but if people don't believe in it, there's nothing in it for them. Fiscally, they're going to spend money. Okay. Somebody's going to win a raffle. Somebody's going to get a bit of a deal on something at an auction, which is actually counterproductive to the conservationist fundraising movement. Right. But other than that, like, why do they want to be there? Well, because of the feeling in the community that has grown. And I mean, that's pretty freaking cool, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just the thing that I think a lot about is all these moving parts. It's like if you take them all, like you take one or two pieces out of there, it all starts to fall apart, right? Like like you said, if you don't have the people to show up that are excited about it and like passionate, but that I don't want to start singling people out, but I think of there's individuals in our community that they've been doing things for a long time in our space, and they're pivotal to that movement, right? And then, like, for example, the Omers of the world, right? Like the stuff that you guys do, and being there, having your booth and stuff, but then also like the incredible support we get from industry, like, and you take that out of there, because if you take that away, then like it's pretty hard to like have a profitable event, right? So if you don't get that kind of support, it's just there's so many moving pieces and parts, and so many, and like you said, Omer, it's been going on for a long time, and I think about the old, like, gray-haired fuckers, like the Sullivans and the Barkers of the world that have been doing this for 25 years. And I mean, you talk about the pillars, the people that we just take for granted that are going to do this mythical heavy lifting, like Bill, like Bill Pastoric. Like, it's just, you just assume he's going to, he enjoys an amazing life, but he's going to, like, the amount of work that goes into putting like a book like that together. I mean, it's monumental, and you take it for granted, but like, look at what he's done. I mean, I've got as many of them as I can possibly own, and every time one comes out, I want it, because that's like our almanac. That's our Encyclopedia Ramtanica, right? And like, when you crack the pages, like, I get surprised. I'm like, I know that fucking asshole. Like, that's bullshit. He's lying there. It's still cool, right? Like these are books with our friends in there. And I'm kidding them, maybe not outright lie, but maybe a little fib here and there, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like, we take that for granted that he's done that, which is one of the greatest things in our community that, we doesn't get said enough. And for him, the reward is just doing it. Does he need the money? No. Right? Could he do something else with his time? No. But he absolutely loves getting into the reeds with people. And like, think about the information in his head, that he can share over a scotch. And then he puts it in a beautiful book for you to pick up and just like, I'm just going to do the old flip the book and I'm going to read that story. And you're like, holy shit, I had no idea about that guy. I didn't know that. Or I've seen that guy at the show. Or like, for me, it's like he bought a scope, or he bought a this, he bought a that. And I talked to him a little bit, and I wish I talked to him more,
So, I mean, that's that's an incredible thing within our community that, helps make it more. Or like, Donnie Stevenson, oh yeah, he's going to make another amazing knife. Like, fuck, he makes amazing knives. Like, you just kind of take it for granted that it's there. Or like Don Lynham, right? Like an endless chain of beautiful rifles that he partners with, Mitch and Gary, that just feed our community like that. Like, they're like watering the grass for like our conservation efforts. So yeah, those things are all incredible, and they're organic. They just happen. What motivates Bill, right? What motivates Don Lynham, right? What motivates Donnie Stevenson to like try to figure out how to outdo himself, right? And then you got the young Turks, right? Like Tanner, right? Who's like definitely orienting himself in that space, right? Like doing an amazing job. So everybody's got these parts in there, and then we can count on, like Adam Foss to always be there, right? As an ambassador in every way, right? So like, yeah, I mean, it takes a village to raise a baby, and, this is our baby. This is the baby. To say nothing of, I mean, think about how it was years ago. It was, held together with like volunteers, right? Duct tape and bubble gum and, notes and meetings. And, now like it's a structured machine, which, I mean, that's further impressive, like organizational development and growth is impressive. It's not something that I'm good at, right? I brute force most things, and just, apply lots of work, right? Like delegating and developing, and, those are impressive things to see happen. And with, it's to the point where I was thinking about this today, actually. It's so ingrained in the mosaic. I consider like my life, life to be like a mosaic, right? Like, you got like this kind of this rug, and then you like stitch things into it, as you go, and like, there are different mosaic pieces, different parts of the quilt for like, like kind of hunting and like, how I love gear and business. But like the wild sheep community and like the whole conservation effort is like, I can't imagine it not being there. Like it does become part of you, just like this type of hunting. And anybody that, oh yeah, Omer, you're being a little too, like sure. Because I know these guys, they're hard men, and they fucking literally line up everything so they can fuck off for 30 days. Okay. What else drives you to do that? Nothing. What else gets like a fucking broke down, old, like 54-year-old guy to, no matter how he's feeling, get on the elliptical every day, to get in the gym, 3 to 4 days, at minimum 2 in the gym, but doing something every day to try to maintain a sort of level of physical fitness so that he can get out there and try to get after it. Right? Like, that's just not like, to kill another sheep. Like, I don't ever need to kill another sheep. I don't ever need to kill another goat ever. Okay. But I will go as much as I can, just because it's so nourishing on like a non-physical level. Even when the best stories I have are other people's. And, there's more than one person. And I've used them, I've screenshotted the text, kept them anonymous and showed them to other people that are kind of getting into it or kind of wondering about it. And, I get these like just cool people who, they stop in, they buy stuff, ask questions, go off on their first or third or 10th sheep hunt. And it's just always like, man, like they tell you some stuff that it's like really personal, like broken relationships, shitty work experience, illness, whatever. And they're just like, but that was like the best fucking thing I've done in years. Or like, we didn't see anything. We got soaking wet. I lost my binos. I still have devil's club thorns in my wrist and hand, and I can't wait to go back. That was the best fucking thing I've ever done, Or another guy who, when I got to know who he is, like incredibly wealthy. Okay. Like part of a, generational wealthy family, and helped him gear up and went out and had an adventure. And then like a couple months later sends me a text and he's like, that fall was the best time of my life. And he didn't kill anything. Like by all account, he's like, the only way I'll probably get something this year is if it's dead on the road. Right. But he said that it was the best time of my life. And I'm like, best time of your life? Like, holy fuck. Like, the guy does whatever he wants. Right. So why is it so good for these people? Because when you're out there, you may not find a sheep, but you find a part of yourself that you respect. Like self-respect. Mm-hmm. Like, I fucking did it. I made it. That literally happened to me one time. I was solo hunting a goat. Not my hardest goat, but a very difficult goat. It was very difficult. And getting it out of where I killed it was I got badly hurt, actually. I broke my finger and hit my head really hard. I destroyed my gun. It just about had a serious oops. But I got it out of there. And then when I knew I was, I'd come off like kind of this glacial part, and I now was kind of safe. And I literally, probably one of the dorkiest things I've ever done. And I do a lot of dorky shit. I mean, people call me that all the time. I mean, Michelle, my workmate, who she gets to see all the stupid shit that I do. She'll see some of the stuff that I collect and buy, or my brother, and like, we're like looking at it, like we're talking about like toys and shit that we still buy. And she's just like, you guys are such fucking dorks. Like, you guys are such nerds, right? But I literally stopped. I looked around and I just went to myself out loud. I was like, I fucking did it. I felt pretty embarrassed for myself that it actually came out of my mouth, but that was super genuine. Because I was just, there were so many times I didn't think I was going to get to go. I wasn't going to make the shot. I wasn't going to find him. I wasn't going to get to him. Thought I was going to fucking die, ruin my gun, all these things. But I got the goat out, and he was a really nice billy. So you don't, where do you get that? Not many places that are legal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that mindset of what it takes to be successful. So, early days for you were hardcore solo goat hunting, which is arguably the hardest thing you can do in our space. That sheep, probably, I guess most people probably argue that goat's the hardest. Not that it's a competition, but it kind of is. But let's just talk about that sort of mental mindset and like what it takes to get it done. Like how are you prepping mentally? Like, yeah, we can focus on the mental side of things more so than the physical side.
Well, so I don't know. I was in combat sports from when I was young. And, like I was always, like a bigger guy, but, the majority of my friends in high school, they were all way tougher than me. They were all like tough hockey players, right? Not people that you'd want to tangle with. So, you get the odd pit fight, at the 4x, like, the fire pit place. And, that kind of, you have kind of a crossroads in your head, how you feel about dire situations. So I just confrontation for me, whether it's like confronting myself or confronting shitty things out there, you kind of learn how to react. Like, are you going to turtle and panic? Or are you going to figure it the fuck out and get out of there? Right. So there's that. On the physical side, which was always really important to me, I was a runner. I ran year round, about like 3 times a week, more in the winter. I used to love winter running. And that, if you were to ask me what's the single best thing you can do for alpine hunting, is running. Okay. It just, you build that cardio engine, which is the most important thing out there, in my opinion. Okay. I mean, well, case in point, one of my hunting partners is Garrick, who is like superhumanly strong human being. Like, when you see what he does in the gym, you're just like, holy shit. Like, he lifts huge amounts of weight. He's such a mild-mannered gentleman, but he could literally pull your arm out of your socket or lift, a grown man over his head and, use gravity to kill you, right? But the first time he hunted with me, he's just like, you're fucking unreal. Like, so I had to dial way back for him, and the best compliment that I ever got out there was, I was hunting with a local legend who, the guy's in his 60s, and you wouldn't want to be compared to him with your shirts off, because he's just a specimen. And me and him and Jeff were hunting McDonald Creek, and, my cardio was just like on point. And we're, climbing up some pretty steep shit. And, I was up at the top, and they were behind me by a ways. And then, Barry went off to take a piss, and Jeff was just kind of snickering, and he's like, fuck, is he mad? He's like, never in my life has anyone beat me over a hill. Right. So I took that as like a huge compliment, but that, I always relied on that. And that's what carried me through a lot of my solo gun hunting in Stewart. That's how I was able to, that I knew I could do it in Bittner, and I could go up, get a mountain, goat in the dark. And I would never get tired. So, for me, honestly, I don't want to call it a crutch, but that was just a huge, huge element for me. Now, I haven't been able to run for a while, and I certainly can't run now after my fall and the shit that's wrong with my left knee and the hardware that's in there. But so I try to find other ways. I have a bit of a base, but I've kind of reconciled with that. I've kind of realized that I just need to, I can't pin it all the time. I have to pace it. Again, you have to have, you can't put the slider bar all the way, you can't just like, Jesus, grab the wheel on everything. And you can't be like, I'm going to fucking do steroids and I don't give a shit. I'm going to be the biggest, most ripped mountain hunter ever. Like, that does not work. Okay. You got to have a balance, right? You got to figure it out. My mantra has been for a long time, like my work mantra is like, it's never good enough. And, that puts me at odds with everybody. And then my personal mantra has been, I'm never good enough. So, I can never have enough preparedness. And I'm always on edge about things, So I just learned, when you're like an OCD kind of person, you have to try to relax it in certain ways. Otherwise you end up, in a padded cell. But if something's nagging you, you got to take care of it. Right. So like shooting, I get to shoot a lot. I've been blessed in that we do a lot of shooting, and that lately we just had a hunter NRL last weekend, which went quite well. And then, got to shoot with Night Force, and they show us some just incredible little tricks. And so Jack and I have been going out and Ben and, getting my friend Waylon and, Dustin and, guys like that, like ready for their sheep hunts. Like, so I'm okay with the shooting, and you start ticking these boxes off, just like work. Just like if you got a checklist of stuff, and then you start to feel mountain ready. You start to feel like, yeah, okay, all right, I can allow a little bit of loosey goosey out there, right? And then just kind of enjoying the process. Like I enjoy meeting with Ben at least twice a week, early morning in the gym, just because we get to just talk about, we got a lot of shared nerdy kind of things, and it's good release for him. I mean, the guy has a very demanding job. I can't imagine what it's like to do his job day in, day out. He loves it, and God bless him and thank God for him, because like literally saves a life every couple days, I'm sure, or some people from huge embarrassment, depending on what's up their ass. But yeah, I mean, you got to enjoy the process. Like, I love going to the, talking gear with Jack and going to shoot. And I was really proud of him. He came in third on the NRL shoot, and things like that. And, and then it all hopefully culminates in, Ben having an opportunity on, on a respectable ram. I mean, that would be wonderful. Okay. I mean, that'd be like, that's the dream, right? Or it could just be like a pretty cool camping trip. So either way.
So is Ben up? He's up, and then Jackson on deck, or how's the pecking order with all that?
I mean, Jack is such a humble person. I mean, you've met him a bit. I mean, he's like, thank God he's not like me. He's smarter and infinitely more patient and just incredibly kind. And, I know what he would like. If there's another nice ram, he'll probably want me to shoot it, but that's not happening. If there's an opportunity for him, then for sure. At the same time, he's got like this killer instinct that comes out where like, he'll just, like, it'll be like, kill it, like shoot. He'll be like, yeah, I'm on it. Like when he gets out there shooting, he's really caught the bug. Like, AJ and Tyler really instilled this kind of like, what the circuit's like in the US, how tough it is and how elite it is, and just the people that roll in it. And I could just kind of see he's like, fuck, I wish we lived down there. He'd be out there, doing it. Right. So we'll have to see. Right. I just want it to be an overall positive experience for him.
How important is legacy? So now Jack's in the mix. He's in the business. You're taking him on his first like true blue sheep hunt.
Yeah.
What is that sort of next generation and having him involved in that? And I know like your family, like you're a family guy, right? Like you talk so reverently about your father, and like we hear the gas offs, the shit they talk about family, and like that's core of who you guys are. But what does it mean to pass it on, to pass the torch?
Well, I'm really proud and happy and lucky that my son is choosing to work with me in this, because he can do anything he wants. And he's got some really, I mean, he's my son, right? Like, is anybody better than your boys? No. Greg, is anybody better than your kids? No. Right? Like, we're obviously biased, but I think it's really cool that he's in this space. We were out for dinner with the guys at Night Force and kind of explaining what our community's like. And I was just like, it's pretty awesome, because like there's very few douchebags like in the community, and it's just like, you're surrounded by these great people. He's just exposed to such a high quality human being that we deal with. And he loves some of our customers, and they love him. Like, they're just like, he's like, we get invites to do stuff and go places and do these things, and we don't bite because we're, I'm very terrible at organizational development, and we just don't have enough delegation. But I if he goes out there and it like, flicks that switch, ignites that fuel, that's probably the greatest gift that I give him, other than, obviously the business, right? I want him to be able to, I mean, we've got to see where things go. Like this business in Canada, like the gun side anyway, the groceries and the garbage is safe, right? But the gun side of things and hunting, it's tenuous, right? The federal and provincial governments are the worst business partners you could ever hope for or hope not to have. You got no choice. But if it morphs into something else, like he's pretty keen. His goals at his age of just out of 20 are like very, very mature goals. He's not going to have to worry about much, just going the trajectory that he is, But I want him to find it fulfilling. He'll get on my ass all the time. He's like, Dad, you're such a fucking spaz. You didn't build that gun, okay? You didn't fucking build that gun, Dad. Like, why are you so fucking mad? Right? Because, I have a temper. And when things are not going right, when I'm dialing in guns, and Garrick's the same way, he gets really frustrated too. But I get fucking pissed. And Jack's like, why are you so fucking upset? Like, Dad, come on, right? And I'm like, because I want it to work for the customer. Like, I don't want something going out of here. Like, it's annoying to have to redo it, to figure, whatever you got to do to make it work. But I don't want something going out there and not working. That's why. Like, I want it to work. I can't control that, right? And that's how I express myself. Whereas he's more rational. He's like, well, then we change the scope, or we just grab a different gun, or this or that, and next thing. But at the same time, I always point out to him, like, you're not the one who's fucking doing it yet. I'm the one who has to fucking do it. Okay? Like, it's always easy when you're the kid and you can kind of, like, your dad's a unreasonable person. And it's a pretty common dad thing, when you talk to other dads, right? They're kind of like, yeah, right? Different perspectives. But ultimately, I just want him to get the reverence for the animals that I feel, and just for it to make him the best person that he can be to rise to the occasion of doing it.
There's a couple things that come to mind. I'll share just a brief personal story, but my old man, when I shot my first mule deer, he stopped hunting because it kind of fucked him up mentally. He just was like, I kind of passed it on, and now he hunts, but it just was like a transformative thing for him. So I found that interesting. And then and I was reflecting on you talking about your old man and basically your first experience with him, and how that was like, and certainly you have a different approach with Jackson than your dad did with you. I know the respect is there, but it's just a different generation, different time. But it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to hear your perspective when you get back from that hunt with Jackson.
I hope it's a good story. We'll see how it goes. We're just want to have fun with it, right? It's cool. Like it's cool. And I guess here's, I could sit here and talk about gear, and I talk about gear lots and stuff. And so, we're bringing whatever we want to bring, right? Like, we're blessed that way, right? But the most important thing that we're all bringing, me especially, is just have a freshness to it, just a willing to surrender to what's out there, not to get too caught up in is that the right area, to have fun, to enjoy it. Okay. That doesn't get said enough. So how many sheep do you know how many sheep tags were sold last year? I heard a number over 5,000. Does that resonate with you?
I think it's a bit higher. That's a bit high. I think it's roughly 3,000 residents and 500 outfitted. I don't think it's 5. I don't think it's ever that high.
Yeah.
But
okay. So let's say it's 3,500 total. So then how many sheep were killed last year? Resis were 400.
Yeah, less than that, but over 3. Yeah. And
then how many non-resident?
Couple hundred.
Yeah. Okay. So your odds are low because a lot of those sheep are repeat offenders. There are killers out there that are really good at what they do. Okay. So, do you think you're that good and lucky going into an unproven area that you've never been in before? No. It just, it's going to be an adventure. right?
Yeah.
We're going to Frodo our way through that shit.
I think Bridger said last night it's 10% is the average. So yeah, that coalesces with your 5,500. That makes sense. Roughly 10%. So, is this trip about? So obviously Ben was a hunter. He's been on trips. You've done goat with him before and stuff. But is this a mentorship trip for you with Jackson? Is this about like, educating him on the ways and beings of being successful?
Well, yeah, I want to get into some tradecraft for sure. The way I do things, right? And I do things differently than other guys would do it, for sure. Learning patience, right? I definitely want to show him patience out there. There's something to be said about sitting and glassing an area for a while rather than just like trucking, like, oh, we gotta be over there, right? Or like, I marked this spot on Onyx, we gotta fucking get there, right? Well, like, there isn't a hotel for sheep at that spot. They're going to be wherever they are. You need to find them, and they're all off. You know how it is. You look at a spot, look away, look back, boom, something's there, right? Guy that I really respect. He was a longtime guide, and he's going out with two friends of mine, and he just the way he thinks and how his brain works, and then another incredibly successful guide, and sheep hunter Johnny was in today, and we're just, he's kind of looking at where I'm going, and he's eyeballing it. And he's like, well, where you can eliminate right away. He's like pointing like all these spots where you got to focus on, right? But at the same time, that's not necessarily true. Biggest ram killed last year was in a goat spot, right? Like, they weren't hunting sheep, they were hunting goats. That's why that ram was alive, So yeah, I want him to conquer fear. Honestly, Jackson has the unfortunate position of hearing like a lot of bad stories too, and we hear a lot of bad bear stories. Quite frankly, like, not just bad bear stories, but I mean, like, fatalities. Like, there was a fatality in outside of Yellowknife a while ago, and he heard every gory detail. There was a horrible attack on the Tashodi, and I was on the phone with that guy for not like the guy that was right there. It was his friend that was attacked, and he hears this stuff. So he's got anxiety, right? I've eased that anxiety and said, I'm 6'3.5", you're 6'2", Ben's 5'9". He's got short, stubby legs. He's easy to outrun, and he's nice and juicy looking. So, they won't be coming for us first. So, yeah.
We said we wouldn't talk about gear, but we're going to talk about gear. So you haven't been on the mountain for a couple of years, as you discussed earlier, and you've got the luxury of seeing the very best of the best all the time. What piece of gear are you most excited about getting out there and getting after it with that you maybe haven't used in the past?
Well, I'll just blow up my loadout really quickly. Honestly, the thing that I'm most excited to use are my crispy Mountain SF boots. I used them on a goat hunt, two goat hunts, because I did go on goat hunts in 23 and 24, and they're just, I love wearing them and walking around that terrain. I just love it. They're the best boots. When you got big, ugly troll feet like me that just get hurt in almost every boot, those things are incredible. Okay, so I'm looking forward to hitting some serious terrain with those. Jack has taken a pair of NL Pure 14x52s, and
nice.
They are like, Waylon took a pair too, and Waylon, so he shows up at he's at the Hunter NRL, and he's just like, these fucking things fucking amazing. You want to fucking, like, he's walking up to everybody, look at these fucking things. You could pick the fucking hairs off a fucking fly's nuts with these things at like 500 yards. Okay, like they're incredible. they are honestly one of the most mind-blowing optics I've ever spent time behind. They're just huge field of view, crystal clear, 14 power. You can resolve things at like 14 or 15 power. There's a reason why guys lug around 15 by 56s to tripod mount. They're just bonkers about it, and I see why. On the clothing side, I'm running the same shit that I always run. Right, I look like a yard sale. I got like some Sitka, I got some Kuyu, I got some Arc'teryx, I got some Stone Glacier, right? Nothing really innovative there. I love staying in Heidelbergs. We run Nalo GT2 and GT3 tents. Those are just, there's no subs. I don't care what something weighs. There's just no substitute for them. Running a different pack this year. One of the things that I told myself is I need to knock 10 pounds off my walk-in weight, not including gun or water. So that's like literally 10 pounds out of my pack. So I'm switching from my trusty old Kaferu Fulcrum, which is robust and a little heavy. And I'm going to use a Stone Glacier Terminus 8700. It's like 4 pounds. So I cut over 4 pounds just there. And it seems to carry well. Food is the biggest problem for me. That has been a big concern. I have dietary issues that just are debilitating if I eat the wrong thing. And so it's been a little bit of experimentation over the last couple of months trying bars, and then I fuck it up. I'll like eat too many things in a day, and then I don't know what it is that tripped me off. And sometimes it takes a couple days. And so that's a little concerning. Firearm, we all shoot 7-saws, me, Ben, and Jackson, and we all use the same ammunition. So there's fluidity in that, and we all have, like, Jackson centralizes our dope. So we can range for each other, be supportive that way, and feed each other ammo. Like, there's no dyskinesia between what we're using there. Doing a lot of ASIAC stuff, like using Rydell's bino collars so that everything is tripod mounted. Because tripod mounting your binos for long-term viewing, it reduces fatigue by magnitudes, and you're going to see more. Yeah, I mean, that's a good basic overview. We're bringing a Swarovski ATX 65. Like for me, I would use an ATS or an ATX, or preferably a Leica 65, right? Or even an 82. It just so happens that I've got the Olin stuff. Like we use an ATX as our range spotter. And so I have the Olin set up for that. Ben's going to pack an ATC, like the mini swirl. And so we're going to have 2 spotters, and then all 3 of us have binos. And Jack's binos are going to be the 14 by 52s. He's going to be running a SIG 8K rangefinder, which is an incredible rangefinder. And then Ben and I are both using the Zeiss rangefinder binos, which, frankly, by today's standards, have been seconded by pretty much everything just because of the advances. I mean, given the choice, I'd be running the Leica AB Plus because they run applied ballistics and they're compatible with a Garmin device and also a Kestrel. But and Ben's a gear nut and he likes to spend money, so he was like, "Oh yeah, tell me, I want those AB Plus." I'm like, "Dude, you don't need them. Like, you don't mess with your range, your Zeiss, and the glass is amazing." So I don't just change to change. There has to be a utility quotient. So that's all good. SG sleeping bag. Love that sleeping bag. Thermarest NXT pad. I'm actually gonna try to. I was joking in the gym. I'm like, how heavy is an Inflatomate? Like I need like some sort of an inflatable thing to sleep on, because Ben just went for a real brief camping trip with Amber's wife and their two daughters, and he's like, fuck man, guys got to fucking get used to sleeping on a pad. He's like, man, I felt like shit after just the first night. And like I have from my fall, I can't straighten my right arm and my shoulders are really tight forward. So I don't know. I got to figure it out. I need to sort of sleep on something kind of. I need to kind of have something to sleep over. So I haven't figured that out yet, but yeah, maybe I will bring an Inflatimate. I don't know. Maybe I'll bring Barry. An inflated Barry. Hey, that's what I need. Inflated COVID guy. But yeah, that's a pretty quick overview. On the food side, there's some good stuff out there. Like, people do try. The community really does try. Like, there's so many, if you're looking for something, there's a zillion options out there. You just gotta, how quality is it? Like gluten-free. Well, how gluten-free is it? What are they using to do that? Because just because something says gluten-free doesn't mean if you have GI problems or if you're on the spectrum of, having different maladies that you're scot-free, right? But when I think back, like to my first sheep hunt years ago, there was just those power bars, which were basically like kind of, I don't know what the fuck they were made of. Actually, if they got warm, they were like gooey and they stuck to the wrapper. And if they got a bit cold, you were going to break your tooth off trying to gnaw on one of those things. Now, like if you name it, like it's there. So we're freaking spoiled.
Well, the meals, right? It used to be Mountain House, and there'd be 7 varieties, and every single one tasted like chili, like without exception. It was it made me said stroganoff, but it still tasted like chili, man.
Yeah, you look at it and you're like, do I eat it or did I eat it? Like. Anyway.
Yeah, we are pretty spoiled now for sure. I want to be respectful of your time. I know you've been working all day and got a family and a whole bunch of other stuff. But what do we? So we've got the Magnificent Seven Rides Again raffle, and we haven't had you on since we launched that. This is year 3. So year 1 we had the Magnificent Six, although we didn't call it that. We had the Magnificent Seven last year, and the Magnificent Seven Rides Again this year. Incredibly generous, man. Like we just can't believe the support that yourself, and I know there's other donors that are part of this, but you do a ton of heavy lifting. But the key takeaway is that you've facilitated every aspect of this. Just maybe touch about, again, this is the community thing again, right? So it kind of ties in. And then again too, like, it's so important for what we do in terms of the conservation work. Like, it's like at the end of the day, we have to perform, we have to put sheep on the mountain. Otherwise, why the hell are we here? Right. So, and that's very crucial to the work that we do is that fundraiser. It's a core, one of the fundraisers that we do. So talk about the vision for that, where it came from, and then just like the support. It's mind blowing.
Well, it started, I don't know if you remember, like, I kind of came on board and things were at that point basically boiled down to the live auction. And I'd gotten a partial donation on a spotting scope. No, I fully donated the spotting scope. I got a partial donation on a rifle scope. And then I wanted to showcase Fierce because I was actually fairly new as a Fierce dealer. And we had a nice looking CT Edge. I didn't have many back then. I was looking back at like years ago when I started looking at inventory reports that I'd done. And I had like 9 or 10 Fierce. I was like, and back then I was like, holy shit, how am I going to sell these things? What am I going to do? Right. Now it's like we have several hundred, like, we just got a pallet another pallet a day before yesterday. We get a pallet every few weeks. Right. John's always like, send Omar more guns. Like, they're coming out, like they're cranking them out down there and they like to ship them up here. And he's very generous in handling the tariffs now. He's the only brand that's doing that. But anyway, it was a 270 short mag CT Edge with a Z5 Swarovski 5-25. And I remember I broached it to you, and it was a bit controversial at the time because there was a concern that something like that would cannibalize from the live auctions. So then if I remember this correctly, the decision was made to basically make it a raffle. And I think, I don't know if that raffle was a little faster than it normally should have been, but I remember like it certainly happened pretty quick. But I totally remember when you needed a photo, and me and Mike were trying to figure out how to do it, and I was just like, so I went and grabbed a mop, pulled everything out of one section of the store there, and we got like what do you call it? It's like tile. I can't think of it. It's like vinyl tile. It's like vinyl flooring in the store, but it looks like hardwood. And I took a mop and I like just, mopped it so it was like shiny. And then we set it on there, and it had a Spartan Precision bipod. And I was walking in circles around it, and Mike was looking, and then I just got this one frame, and he looked at it, he's like, boss, that's fucking gold. So he very quickly like put graphics on it, because Mike is just brilliant with everything he does. And I sent it to you, and you said, man, there's something to be said about a picture. I remember those words. And like, I can't remember, I think you'd have to look back. You'd think I'd remember this right now because I'm generally a numbers guy. But anyway, it sold pretty damn quick. And it was cool. And you fought for it. I remember there was like some opposition. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but basically you had to remind people like, hey, this is a full fucking donation. If it raises $50, what are we losing here? Like, don't be dumb. Okay?
Yeah.
Like Google's mantra was don't be evil. Kyle's mantra with people is like, don't be dumb. Okay? You're dumbing. And it was successful. And then, it helped sales. Like, it generated sales. People had featured the gun. Right? And the gun at that point was relatively, new. Oh, there you go. Bingo. That's the one. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a picture
like,
though.
Yeah. That's like, that's on the floor of like the grocery store over in my corner.
That is epic, actually.
And that's kind of where it started. And then, then after that, it just, I think, we did like 2 and then 3 and then 5. And then, just every year, just kind of, we Gilletted it, fuck it. Yeah. 3 blades isn't enough. We need 4. We need the Quattro, right? Now we need the Cinco de Mayo, well, now we're at the Magnificent 7. And, I mean, if you know me a little bit, to know me is to hate me, because like, I'm blunt, and I, like with suppliers, I would just, like with Gunworks in particular, start doing really good numbers for them. And then just, I don't think Chris will be listening to this, but I got him in a situation where he was at a slight disadvantage and no one was moving anywhere near the guns we were. And I put his nuts in a vice and I said, yeah, okay, well, we'll see eye to eye on this, but you need to help me on this, this, and this. And he's just like, okay, bro, I got you. Right. And they help step up. And then same with Fierce, and just like anybody, I'll be like, yeah, I'll give you an order, but you need to donate a gun to Wild Sheep in BC. Well, we do stuff down here. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about down there. Okay. You want me to sell your guns to people in British Columbia? You need to step up. Okay. Like, you need to do it. And I'll say it like that. And then they laugh and like, who is this idiot? Right. But then, they realize it's like, look, it's earnest. Like, I'm not putting this in my pocket. Like, this is like for a greater cause, and they benefit from it. So, and it's a source. I don't want to say it's a source of pride. It's like more a source of like, I just feel like I'm helping.
Yeah. That.
Right. Like, it just, if you can do something to help, the old adage, like, if you can do good and you don't, then you're like doing evil. Right. Well, I mean, I don't have time. I would like to go and help in the field. I love fresh air. I'd pick up and cut, chain or barbed wire fence. And I don't have time for that. Right. But if I can nudge suppliers, right, into relationships with you guys like Wild Sheep and the community, and and create like some lasting relationships, why wouldn't I do that? It serves many purposes, to be frank, right? Like it engages in commerce, and it helps conservation, and it makes them look good, and it does good work. So it's, why wouldn't you do it? It's frustrating sometimes because of what we're trying to do, conservation, save animals, like create legacy for kids. And, then you're dealing with a mindset that views it singularly as, really a negative thing against community guidelines. And so, we found ourselves censored like last year, and it kind of crippled, the raffle. So it's there's many prongs to it, but ultimately, it feels pretty good when I know that like someone like, Nick up in PG is going to get an incredible, he won the Twisted Rogue 7mm backcountry. He's getting an incredible system. I hope he loves it, and he got the thrill of winning. But, the run up to that early bird draw, it put much needed resource in the tank, in a conservation tank, in the conservation gas tank for Wild Sheep. And then that money goes and does, so many good things that nobody else is doing. So like, it sounds corny, but ultimately doing a big raffle like this helps the hunter, like the member, the guy that just wants to spend $50 and win a $15,000 Gunworks, right? He is helping perform conservation. Mm-hmm. We make it easy that way. It's an easy button, so everybody can feel good about it.
Yeah, inspiring, man. Like it's just incredible. And I can say from our board, I'll let Greg speak on behalf of them, but and our membership is there's just nothing like it. Like the support we get from our community, but there's some pillars, and this guy on this call, you've done just beyond the lion's share of heavy lifting, and we don't take it for granted. That's for sure. We often sit around and go, and then what that does is it pushes us to be better too, because we can't let you down. Like you've put your nuts out there. You've gone to these suppliers. You've ponied up with your own capital to make it happen at your own personal cost, and so now we have a responsibility to you as well, right?
Something like
important. That. Yeah. Awesome. What else we got?
Well, actually,
what are we missing?
Well, you've done a lot of talking, okay, on this session here. So it's going to be pretty uncomfortable for you, actually, because this might take a little while, but it needs to be said because I don't think anyone else has the balls. But, there's a lot of people that are really fed up of your shit, Kyle. Okay. And unfortunately, I'm the one who's going to have to tell you this. Okay. So I think, I was thinking about this earlier today because I was getting pretty pissed off. But I think most of us were like exposed to you, kind of hanging around the show, in its early stages, right? And then I think, you and your long suffering hunting partner, Mike, you guys got lucky and you had a doublehead or something like that. And you put it up on HBC, which was like, such a primitive way to communicate hunting stories back then. Right. And, you put this expose of your hunt and it was good and everything, but nobody really cared. And then next thing I know, I show up at the Wild Sheep show and you're there dressed all in black, looking like a Goomba. with a fucking table with like pictures of a fucking sturgeon or something like that. And like, I'm like, Jurassic Classic. What is this shit? Like, what is the So you somehow brainwashed people at Wild Sheep, the board at that time, that somehow sturgeon had a tie-in with sheep. Like what? The sheep are shitting on the mountain and it's rolling down into the fucking river, getting all the way to the Fraser and nourishing the sturgeons. So you got some traction there, and then you got it in your head that like, oh, well, I should run for the board. So that shows how poorly decked that board was, that you made it there. And then you became president. And I kind of remember that, and I was like, clearly everyone called in sick, or, you know, something was going on. And then COVID happened. And, you know, it's not like you weren't already working. Okay. I mean, of all the people that I know, my friend Waylon works harder than anybody, because somehow from Monday to Wednesday, he can work 120 hours. Yet his Facebook, and he brags about it all the time, yet his Facebook clearly shows that he's at the fucking Cornell Lake Resort that he's built for himself Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay. But you would come in a close second because you were like, wow, were you really flying that jet? Okay. It was flying itself, but you were under the guise that you're a full-time professional pilot, right? Commercial pilot, while working on sheep stuff about what? 40 hours a week in that ballpark, making us all feel shitty about the amount of time that we were putting into our paying jobs. Okay. And then again, through great misfortune for us, COVID happened, which kind of was disastrous for your career. And now you're the fucking CEO of this thing. And I can't imagine it without you. And obviously I'm being facetious and I'm joking. Okay. But a lot of people do notice, and it resonates with them. And these are people that I've come to really respect and depend on. And so, you know, we sort of talk amongst ourselves and, you know, try to find ways of like, you know, what can we do? And, you know, what better way than to sort of, you know, give you something that is the embodiment of what we all do. And so this thing's pretty overdue. It's a little stale dated because originally it was supposed to be one thing, but then, you know, things change, new things come out, and the tariffs kind of threw a wrench in it. But, you know, I am a spiritual person. It's anyone that listens to this probably kind of gathered, and shit just kind of happens when it's supposed to happen. And it just so happened that last pallet that came from Fierce USA, finally, this thing showed up. And so it's a little late in the game, but, you know, hopefully it's going to find use. So what I have here is I don't know if you can see this, but this is a Fierce CT Rogue in 7mm backcountry, sporting a Zeiss Conquest V4 6-24. And so in 2024, I did a special run, Wild Sheep exclusive, of Fierce Rogues. And we did 100 of them, and it was incredibly successful. And so, you know, when I was talking to John, I was like, well, what the fuck are we going to do? Like, we numbered them out of 100, and we sold them all. You know, we sold 1 through 100. I think there's only 2 left. And I was like, actually, I know what to do. So it's going to be upside down and backwards. But if you look, let me see. I don't know how to flip it, but this one is Wild Sheep Special Edition, number 0 out of 100 to the captain. Because it all starts with you, and you are our captain. So on behalf of Papa John Mogul and Rob Dykeman at Fierce, and Mr. Alan Top and Ray Harms at Zeiss, and my brother Enver, Jackson, Garrick, Andy, and Michelle, and myself. There are many rifles out there, but this one's yours. So we're going to get that on the way to you pretty quick. We just got to get it tuned up. But thanks, Kyle.
Wow. Yeah, speechless is perfect. Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Just thank you.
Well, no, thank you. Like, thank you for, bringing things to where they are, because everything you said earlier, you can have the best ingredients in the kitchen, but you need a proper chef to turn it into a masterpiece, like a cake, a nice cake. Okay. And you baked a pretty fucking good cake here, and we all get to enjoy it. So that's about the only way I can analogize that. Don't be a pussy. Don't cry.
Wow.
You need a hanky over there. You're going to become a waterfall or something like that. Like,
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and all those people, they all pitched in on that, and it was pretty cool, because just a couple of them. I mean, like, Alan's never met you in person, I don't believe. Ray has, and John's met you a couple times, and Rob has, and then I don't have to sell your lame ass on anybody on our side of the team, but yeah, I mean, they're all just like, hell yeah. Yeah, like, yeah, let's do this. And it took them, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, maybe probably 3 times to get that floor plate right. They'd do it, and then John would send me a photo, and I'd be like, man, I hate to be picky, but he's like, they fuck it up. I'm like, yeah, they fucked it up, like, So finally it came in, and it was just right, just in time for this podcast, which is meant to be. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Just wow. Thank you.
And he's crying. Oh, that's fantastic. I had a little closing thing I was going to say, but I don't know, Omar, you kind of took the show there. But as we wrap up here, I just want to take a moment. You talk about Kyle as well, and so I say how truly honored we are that you guys are both in the conservation space. The work you both done and continue to do, it's impossible to put a dollar value on. The legacy you're both leaving behind is deep, lasting, and incredibly meaningful. The Wild Sheep family is beyond lucky to have you both, and you're as humble as you are dedicated. And sincerely thank you both for everything you guys do.
Those are really kind words. Thanks, Greg. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I have nothing left to say. Just, you got me, buddy. Like, you definitely got me. I did not see that coming. I was looking forward to giving you the credit you deserve, and then you throw it at me, you bastard. Okay. Amazing. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, this was fun. I mean, this is a different kind of chat that I'm used to doing, but it was good. And I think that some of these things that we chatted about don't get kind of thrown around, enough. Like, we're going long here, but I just find it like really frustrating that here we are, like real hunters. I mean, I consider our community to be real hunters and real conservationists, and we're just constantly like vilified. And then, like, right now the news and social media is blowing up with these people that have never laid eyes on a bear. A lot of them, it's just some emotional thing to hang up on because, unfortunately, like an animal was destroyed, right? Where, outside of that locus, but like there's no mysticism, there's no genuine mysticism. There's no genuine spiritual connection between these people that are all teary-eyed over, this unfortunate destruction of this bear, which, quite frankly, if it was in proximity to them or their pets or their loved ones, they wouldn't even hesitate. And then you juxtapose that to what it is that we try to do and how we feel about these animals. Like that ram over your right shoulder, like you've got a lot of thoughts and feelings and emotions and things that it evokes. And it's, that's what that's the notion of the trophy. That some people collect these trophies because, oh yeah, it's a big trophy. It's a big buck or this or that. But, the best ones are, they're embedded with these things that we're talking about. And that's what our community does. And I don't think that really gets exposed enough and talked about because it's the most important thing.
It's the only thing.
Yeah.
You take that out of it, you take that sense of community away, there's not much left, to be honest with you, because all of us on our own, any one of us on our own is, what are we really? Like, because we know that, without every single piece that drives this thing that we're doing, it all goes away when we start taking those pieces away, because we're just islands by ourselves. And I think the thing that I think about all the time is like we're kind of the last bastion, man. Like they're at the door. Yeah. They are at the door. And anyone that thinks they aren't, call me fear mongering, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep deluding yourself, man. Like I and maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I am, but I'm not going to take it for granted that everything's going to be okay. Like we have to get up every single day and be deliberate in what we do to protect the things we love, because they'll take them away in a heartbeat if we let them.
Yeah, like absolutely. My son asks, I tell my son many things, and, and we have some hard chats, right? Like, especially when, because everything's not rosy all the time. Like you run into business challenges, whether it's induced, self-induced or not, or something happens. And the one thing that I tell him all the time is like, I don't want you to have to work like I do. I don't want you to have to like carry the stress that I do. And I'm lucky. Like I'm blessed. Like, my brother, my brother runs, there, like I said, there's the 3 G's. I have my brother who is like, he's so good at what he does, just dominates it. And then I have, Michelle, who runs the grocery stores, like so dedicated and so good at it. And then, we run the gun side. It's not just guns. So I'm blessed that I have support there, but it is hard work. It is very hands-on. My Jackson's like, you invest yourself in it too much. Like you shouldn't have to, over deliver like that. And I tell them all the time, that's, I hope that you don't work. I hope that you're not, approaching your mid 50s and putting, 60, 70, 80 hours in a week. I don't want you to. If you can retire at 35, you can, like, that'd make me prouder. Right. So, but at the same time, what I want him to get out of it most is the recognition that the people that we work with and work for and the community we're in is like one of the most important communities. And it's important for reasons that aren't necessarily obvious and apparent. Like, this isn't about hunting. This isn't about shooting animals. It's not just about filling the freezer. This is literally about core values, principles, morals, ethics that ultimately are more about family and community than it is about picking the right gear and going and hunting a sheep. And more people are getting that. And I see people rising out of the community, you know, and like whether it's social media posts or whatever, you just see some fucking incredible things. You see families that like people making mistakes and breaking up or on the brink. And then like literally guy goes out with his friends on a sheep hunt. And whether it's like him having a self-awakening or like them kind of pounding in his head, like, hey, you got a family back home. You need to fucking get your head right. You need to straighten that out. You're wrong. And then like a year later, not quite a year later, I can sort of see what's going on there. And it's like not healed, but it's far, far better than if like it had, you know, the family had broken. Right? So what happened there? What if he didn't have that sheep hunting element? What if he didn't have that community, like those people that he respects telling him that? Like, again, you can't just buy that off the shelf. Like, so, you know, to try to encapsulate this, it's things like that. That's what all of this means to me. That's what the community and wild sheep and what we do and the ethos means to me. Like it's way, way beyond, you know, just making money. It's just, that's not even like, it's a very lucky byproduct that allows it to sustain. Right. So anywho.
Ooh, some heavy shit there, man, and awesome shit. Epic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool though. It's like it's pretty cool. I mean, not to it is pretty interesting when you kind of delve into it and when you get to see it. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Brother, I can't thank you enough for absolutely everything on a personal level, your friendship, your commitment, and just everything you do for us, for the community, and beyond too. Like I think of so much about the society stuff, and then I think about all these other orgs and other initiatives that you support as well, and it's amazing. Thank you so much for every single thing that you do, and mostly, there's, like we talked about, there's the I guess the quote corporate aspect of it, but really it's the pillar. It's the pillar in our community that, for me, that's by far that's the important part. The rest of it we can replace. We can't replace the pillar. We just can't.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the last thing I'm going to say is think about where this all was like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and think of the people that we have on our side and our team now, and where this is going to be. Like, I mean, one of the best things that I think about is being in my 60s and still showing up at Sheep Show with all these other guys that are going to have more or less gray hair and going to be less out of shape than, they're not going to be in as good shape as I'm going to be in my 60s, and just still fucking seeing each other there and seeing where things are and seeing their kids and their kids, hopefully. And just like, I mean, that's awesome.
Epic.